Welcome to another episode of Sabine's Common Sense. I'm your host, Sabine the Purpose Lawyer. Thank you so much for listening and thank you for helping me be on purpose. So today we're going to talk about business and faith, right? Oh my God. I am so excited for my guest. You guys are going to be so blessed by her. She is Danielle Nicole Johnson. She is a singer, but more than just being a singer, a faith-based singer, she is also a super duper powerhouse. She's a businesswoman. She has so much wisdom and insight, and she's just going to share with us how she sort of navigated having a nail polish company, having a journal, having all these different businesses that she was running simultaneously successfully, and how it helped her channel all of that into finding who she is today. Yeah, I don't want to miss this. So many gems were dropped. All right. So the story that I want to share with you today is, or the concept I want to share with you today is protecting your business through contracts, right? And so contracts are never sexy, guys. Like, it's a bunch of words on a piece of paper. Nobody wants to read them. Like, how many contracts have you signed without even reading it? Like, I know, I get it. I get it. Truth be told, many lawyers don't like reading them either, but that's what we do. So we have to, right? But contracts are so important. Like, I wanted to sort of highlight this because I had a story about, or a situation with someone who I worked with as a client who entered into a business venture with someone else that she kind of newly met. And so entering into this business venture, she realized that as the business was kind of developing and playing out, she realized there were some things that she didn't like about the other person. And long story short, they weren't on the same page. The business ended up being good, but she ended up having to exit the business. And so what happens when these sort of situations come about, when you're in a relationship, professional relationship, and things fall apart? We got to look to the paperwork. What does the contract say? And so when we looked at the contract that they had previously entered into before they came to us, before we got involved, the contract didn't really cover a lot of things, right? It was super basic. And it looks like something that was just like pulled off of a website, right? And so because of that, it didn't have a lot of protections in it. And so when we look to see like, okay, so what happens when things break down? What do you get? What does this person get? Et cetera. And it turns out the contract was sort of silent on that. So what happens when things are silent? It's almost like, you have to now sort of figure out what the interpretation of that thing is going to be, right? So nobody wants to like be caught up in that situation where you got to have to now backtrack and be like, okay, what does this actually mean, right? Because the only way to really find out what a contract means, like for sure, is to go to court. And nobody wants to go to court. Like, it's so time consuming, and most of your money is spent on things that are not really going to solve the problem, right? So I wanted to give you guys some tips on contracts and how should you be thinking about entering into contracts? And if you are going to use a contract online, what are some of the things that you should be looking for, right? So contracts have to have what's called an offer. So you're offering to do something for someone, or someone's offering to do something for you or give you something, a product, a service, an outcome, right? And it needs to have an acceptance. So the other person has to accept it and say, yes, I want to do this, right? I want to, enter into this. I want to have this thing happen. And not only does it have to have acceptance, but it has to have some sort of exchange. So what am I exchanging for the thing that I'm, offering to do? And what am I getting for the thing that I'm accepting, essentially, right? And so you have to make sure that those things are in the contract. And it looks different from every single contract that you enter into. So it's hard for me to tell you exactly what the words are that it should say, but these are the concepts that should be in there. And one of the things that I find that is often left out of contracts is the termination, right? So in that example that I told you that these two individuals entered into a business venture and it fell apart, and there's no, direction as to termination. So not only do you have to say like, what happens if this doesn't work out? All these things that we put in this agreement that we said that we're going to do, then everybody's responsibility. What happens if it doesn't work out? And if it doesn't work out, What are the consequences for that? And oftentimes, if you don't have a consequence in there and somebody doesn't perform, doesn't act in the way that they're supposed to be acting under the contract, it's like, okay, so what do you do? Your only recourse now is to sue them to force them to do it. And that's not the best way to really have, a contract termination, right? The best way to do it is to say that you owe me a certain thing, or you forfeit a certain thing, because that way that gives you something to sort of, bargain with, like a bargaining tool. And so I see it all the time that people either enter into agreements where they're just, giving their word for it. And I tell people all the time, you do not want to do that. And oftentimes I hear, well, not all contracts have to be in writing. True, but how do you prove what it is that you agreed? How do you prove what it is that you guys discussed and that you talked about and what the promises were? You can't really prove it if you don't have it in writing. So a lot of times I find that people don't think that asset protection contracts is a part of asset protection, but contracts is a part of protecting the things in your business that will allow you to build the wealth that you want to build, and therefore it protects your assets. All right, you guys ready for this interview? I'm super excited. Don't laugh at how geeky I am, because I'm about to get real geeky, all right? Follow me to my interview. Danielle!
Hi, Sabine! Oh my gosh!
Guys, I'm gonna be a huge geek today, like extra geeky, because Danielle is such an amazing person.
Oh my goodness, Sabine. I love you so much. I'm so happy to be here. See, I've been following you and just like so proud. Sabine's Common Sense.
Thank you.
This is the common sense I wish I had. So thank you for creating this channel.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Just trying to share what I know and the wonderful people that I know, how they can, pour into my guests, to my audience.
Yes.
Yes. So Danielle is so many things, guys.
Oh my gosh.
So she's a wonderful person. She's beautiful.
Thank you.
She's talented. She sings.
Yes, I sing.
Right? Mm-hmm. She's produced her own albums. Mm-hmm. Well, created her own albums. She's had so many businesses.
Yes.
And so when I first met Danielle, I was just in awe at your drive.
Ooh, I would call that the Jamaican drive.
Okay, the 5 jobs.
Jamaicans, I don't know. We just go. Yes. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. This is how it is. Yes.
I was hustling. When I first met you, I had perfume. I had a devotional. I had an album. I was doing mentorship, 5 a.m. prayer. I was doing so much. I think I was just trying to find my way, because I was interested in so many things, but this was before serial entrepreneurship was popular. Right. So and I had nail polish.
Yes. She started her own nail polish brand. I did. Like pure nail polish.
It was called Pure Nail Polish. It was vegan. It was 5 free. And I was interested in so many things, and people be like, okay, does she sing or does she do nails?
Right.
And I'm like, I do both. Thank you so much. But yeah.
Don't be disrespectful.
Exactly. Give it up for the ladies who like to do more than one thing and want to serve in more than one way. So
I love that. So how did you get into doing all these different things? Like, where did you find the time?
Yeah. Honestly, it came out of a need. When I got out of college, I started touring with the Harlem Gospel Choir.
Oh, awesome.
And yes, shout out to y'all.
How did you wait? Let's get into how did that happen?
Well, okay, my degree is in vocal performance and music business. So music and business is my flow.
Okay.
And so what happened was, when I got out of college, I couldn't really find a job. So I had to get an education. And so I started working as a chorus teacher at a charter school, but then the budget got cut. So our entire department, my goodness.
Wow.
We all got laid off. And I never forget, and it seems so corny, I put some affirmations on my mirror. I don't even remember what these affirmations were.
That is not corny. That is key.
It was so key. I was saying it every day. I was like, okay, I have a little unemployment, and thank God for unemployment, but it's not the full thing.
Okay.
So, I was trying to figure things out, and I auditioned for the Harlem Gospel Choir.
Wow.
And I started going on tour about 8 months out of the year, and I eventually became the music director. And so when I was there, I saw a lot of things. And I learned how to grow. I did the public relations part of it. I also did the stage part of it. And so I started to see behind the music, how it worked. And we also did something with charity organizations where we went in and we taught some master classes. And that's kind of where the education bug hits. So we're doing these master classes, and I wanted to offer them to the tri-state area with two of my friends, Alana and John. And so we opened up a business at that time.
Okay.
But, you know, when we were with that choir, when we started opening up the business, we didn't have that time to be on tour. And so I had to supplement my income, you know, a couple of different ways. And that's really...
So you're saying you sort of scaled back going on tour to start the business, to do the teaching.
Yes.
Okay.
It started to conflict because also, you know, I was newly married at the time and my husband was not having 8 months out of the year. He was like, sis, you are missing Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day. You know, I was missing all the things. And he was saying, listen, if you're going to continue this way, I'm not really sure if this is going to work out. He was very clear with me. You know, I married a Jamaican man. You know,
you knew what you was getting into.
Okay, they are blunt, up front and center in your face. And so he said, listen, this is not going to work out if you continue this way. And so I had that music education business with my friends. And then I was thinking through because at the time I also had started a Bible study with another one of my friends in Brooklyn. And that's where like the prayer ministry began. And so I started the devotional, the 5 a.m. prayer.
So wait, hold up. So how did you feel about having that? Because people want to know, like women in business, we're ambitious.
Yes.
But we want to have love too. Like, you know what I mean? So how did you feel about like saying, okay, this great thing that I have going on, I maybe can't do it this way. I have to pivot. Was that a challenge for you?
It was a challenge. But I think what helped me to make the difference is, or turn the corner is when you put God first in your marriage, you recognize and you're aware of the possibilities. And so for me, the possibilities of partnership was more than what I could do on my own.
Ooh, I love that. I love that.
And so I married a man who's ambitious, who's driven, who's talented, who's proficient, who's articulate, and who's a praying person. So I recognize, like, okay, if this is what he is saying, there's some possibilities here for me to do more if I join
together.
Versus,
so that's important. What Danielle pointed out is that her husband is wise. She respects his decision-making process.
Yes.
Right? And so she knew that she can trust him and with her.
That's important.
Yeah, that's important.
I love what Elena Cardone says in her book, Build an Empire. She says, find the one that you trust and build an empire with them. And Dre was somebody I could trust. I knew that he wanted to build. And so I took a leap of faith. I was starting a business, so it wasn't like I was making that same money from the Harlem Gospel Choir, but I knew that if I did it with him, then there was a possibility there that we could make a lot of money and we could serve a lot of people. So I said yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dope. Okay, cool. So now you have, you know, sort of shied away from the Harlem choir.
Yes.
You are now, you've discovered another avenue. You started your business and now you're also getting into prayer ministry.
Yes.
So continue there.
Well, I started a Bible study with two of my friends in Brooklyn. And this Bible study, while I was working the music education throughout the week, this Bible study was getting so popular because what was happening was, first of all, there was no time limit on it, even though my husband was like, what are you doing? If you don't stop coming to this house at 3 a.m. talking about people getting delivered and set free, I don't have time for your foolishness. So, but I was in East New York, okay?
Okay.
Brooklyn people,
streets.
You know, yes. I had to pray over my car. I said, oh, thank you, God, as I'm in here doing your work, please cover my car.
Right.
So, but you know, I was in East New York, in the heart of Brooklyn, and we were there at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning, helping so many people. So people were coming to Bible study. And they were so hungry to just understand the word, and they were hungry to experience, you know, something that was different than a church service. Because a church service, you have to go to the next part, right?
Right.
Service. But for us, it was just worship and word.
Okay.
And so people knew what they were getting. And when they came in, they knew that they were not going to be quenched. Like if they wanted to cry, like no one was going to judge you.
Okay.
If you was going to scream, jump, run, we were going to just cheer you on.
Okay.
So that non-judgmental, you know, kind of atmosphere.
Like a safe space.
Yes, it was it was definite. That's a great word. It was a safe space. It was a safe space for me. We created what we wanted, to be honest. We created what we wanted, and it seems like other people wanted it too.
Right.
And so out of that, I was one of the leaders there. I knew that in order for me to host something like this, I need to bring up my spiritual practices.
Right.
And so I started to wake up early in the morning at 5 a.m. every morning. Oh my goodness.
Don't y'all love that 5 a.m. wake up?
I was up every morning at 5 a.m., whether or not I crawled to the, you know, because I did it with a friend of mine, Joy Brown.
Okay.
And we were up at 5 a.m., whether I crawled to the phone, whether I was snoring on the phone. Some days she would be like, Danny. I would be like snoring before the Lord. Like literally.
Snoring before the Lord.
Yes.
I love it.
But Sabine, 5 a.m. prayer changed my life.
Really?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. When you talk about morning routine for, you know, wealthy people, like I've read a couple of books about morning routines. I've listened to several podcasts about a morning routine. It's not a joke.
Nope.
When you set your day, like before, you know, let's say 8 or 9 o'clock, your entire day, your entire week, everything shifts.
Yes.
When I started that 5 a.m. prayer, just being obedient with one other person, my marriage changed.
Wow.
My money changed. I got more focused. There was a clientele that I started to meet 2 months into us starting this business.
Wow.
I became a resident artist for several nonprofits in the tri-state area.
Wow.
We've taught over 10,000 children. Like I can only attribute it to the fact that I put God first.
Wow.
And so that's how that began.
Oh my God, that's so much, Danielle. I love it. I'm like getting goosebumps over here. That is so wonderful. Like there is the spiritual aspect of, you know, God is who he is. And as long we can't lose with, you know, with God, right?
Never.
But then there's also sort of like, I kind of want to say the business aspect in the sense that many successful people, you're right. They all say they have that routine.
Yes.
They all say they get up early.
Yes.
And a lot of them, even though they may not be, you know, evangelizing, right?
Yeah.
Many of them say they pray.
Yes.
You know, and that having that space and that time to just like let God download and do what he do.
Oh my goodness.
You know?
It's everything, Sabine. You know, and I hope your listeners are getting this. Like, guys, there's nothing better than being able to receive instructions from someone who's boundless. He's not Google.
Infinite.
Exactly. So it's God in Google. Like, honestly, there's no limitations. He doesn't say to you, I don't know. One thing I was sharing with the prayer community recently is that the Holy Spirit tells you the right thing to do the first time.
Whether you listen.
Yes, whether you listen or not. The right thing to do the first time. That's so crazy because in the kingdom, it's not a fail forward. It's Holy Spirit obedience forward. You know, so we don't have to go along the lines of like, let's say everybody else. So we're seeing how other people have done it. But when you integrate prayer and the Holy Spirit in it, you now have information that even people may want to withhold from you.
Right. Girl, you ain't never lied on that one.
We having church. Okay.
That is so true. It's so funny. With my husband, like sometimes he'll tell a little white lie, right? Nothing major, but I'll find out and I'll be like, the Holy Spirit told me.
That's all right.
I'd be like, you know, God's gonna tell me, so don't even keep it out.
Yes. My mother used to say, what's done in the dark will come to light.
Right.
And I used to be like, child, would you, stop telling me that, okay? Because I want to do some things in the dark that I don't need you to find out about.
You know what I'm saying? No, but that's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. Cindy, Dr. Trim tells the story of when she was writing her first book, she had a friend who was a New York Times bestseller. And she was asking her friend, like, how do I write a bestseller? Like, teach me, you're an author.
Right.
And so the friend said to her, no, you're not ready. And she said she was so hurt. You know, this was something that, you know, we all have friends that are better than us in other industries.
Right.
And we may be trying to do something. And I think the spirit of it is like, hey, whatever I can do for you, I want to do for you. And so that friend didn't do that. And she said she just prayed and asked the Holy Spirit to help her. And she wrote the book, and that book was Command Your Morning.
Wow.
Now it's in, I think, 14 languages. It's been a New York Times bestseller several times over. Yes.
Wow.
So he gave her the information that somebody withheld from her. And, you know, we're not shaming that person, but we understand that, you know, this
if it's for you, it kind of is for you.
It will not pass you by.
Right. That
it's
is
yours.
Awesome. That is awesome. Awesome. Yes. So now you started this Bible study, but you have this other business. What made you say, okay, I need more businesses, or let me shift out of this if you did?
Well, I love fashion and I love smelling good and I like looking good. And, you know, as I was doing this business, I started to recognize some of the things that I learned from being on tour. Whether you're in Germany, the only place I haven't been in the world yet is Latin America. So I've been everywhere. Whether you're in Germany, Australia, Bulgaria, you know, Africa, I went to Morocco, like there is a universal language that women have, you know, where you recognize that you're putting yourself last. Women all over the world have this tendency to put others before themselves and take care of themselves last. And I was just finding it everywhere. You know, women would like talk to me about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what, child, I'm just here to sing, oh, happy day.
I was like, can you help me?
Yeah, it's like, I need help. I need more. And so I would just like hear that cry. And I would just start to integrate some self-care practices of my own and share them. So
within your like singing and performing.
Within the singing and performing group that we were in, we would do different things. We would have conversations just like you and I are having now, you know, in our hotel rooms, and we would just pray and ask God to help us to become women who, you know, really take care of themselves so we could help others to take care of themselves and be a reminder. And so out of that came the devotional. So I did a 30-day devotional because, you know, the prayer ministry to me is also self-care. You know, seeking God first. It gives you a peace of mind and a confidence. My mentor always says that consistent action breeds confidence. And so the consistency of doing things every day, whether or not you do it to 100%, 90%, 80%, but you're there, you're doing it, it creates a confidence in God and a confidence in you. And so we started with that. I started with that confidence in God, confidence in you. And then I really liked, you know, to do different things with accessories and nail polish. So I started with nail polish. And, you know, downtown Brooklyn, we got all of the oils. So, yes, I worked with an oil guy and we created my own custom oil, and I sold that for a little while. So,
so you were just like, whatever you were inspired by, you went with it.
Why not try?
And I love it. And you achieved success in all the things that you endeavored to do.
I did. And I learned so much. I mean, I think the thing that I learned during those businesses is how to scale. I was not like, with the nail polish, I put out every shade, honey. First, it's like, okay, well, what you gonna do 2 years from now? You put out every color. So anything you put out now is gonna be a shade of that color, right? And so, you know, it just taught me a lot about people, and it taught me a lot about business and what it means to grow in business. And
like sort of the psychology behind getting your customers to sort of be interested in what's next.
And keep them engaged, and you know, keeping the main thing was another lesson that I learned. You know,
let's talk about that, because how do you do that when you have all these different ventures?
Remembering your why. Remembering your why. Why did you start this? What sparked you and bringing you back to that? It's kind of like testimony. You know, in testimony service, they'll be like, I remember when God, he delivered me from this. You know, I feel like when you remember that experience of why you did something, it ignites your passion again, and it re-engages your focus. So you say, okay, I remember that I did this to help women. So let me figure out, the best way to streamline all the releases that I'm doing in a way that really assists and supports the lifelong endeavor of being a self-caring woman. And
So how does this other thing fit into what I'm already doing or the path that I want to be on?
Yeah. So at that time, I stopped those businesses so that I could regroup and just figure out, what offering I wanted to do. And so I just kept the main thing, and I just released music. And so I kept it there with the music so that I can build more of an engaged following. And then I'm going to roll out. We got a couple things coming soon.
Okay. We'll say that for the end.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's awesome. And I have to say, I have noticed your growth in music. Like you've just really been just owning it and commanding it. And I feel like receiving who you were like meant to be, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Sabine, I'm going to be honest with you. Vocally, the past 5.5 years, I really figured out who I was, but also, the industry, especially the worship industry, is male dominated. And I think for me, and also sometimes we didn't see that diversity. And so for me, when I came into this, just being obedient, I was intimidated because I didn't see myself and I didn't see, the big earrings or anything, the wild lashes, like I'm here, but you're going to get these wispies. Yes. You fluffies. Well, I don't know what Amazon calls them, fluffies. I didn't see that, and so for me, I didn't know how to develop that. And I had to just take risk after risk after risk after risk after risk. And that's why I think it was important for me to shut all that stuff down so that I could, give that energy to the development of what that artist looks like. Who am I?
Right.
What is my mission? And I now realize that my mission is to release music integrated with prayer and faith, an empowering music to help those who are, trying to increase their prayer life, trying to elevate their faith, and just giving a little soundtrack to, their individual empowerment. But I would not have gotten there if I was kind of like focusing on all 5 directions.
Right.
Yeah.
So I love that. That's a wonderful picture that you painted. Like you're unapologetic about trying so many different things, about, having all these business ventures. But then when you got the clarity that you needed for who you were meant to be, you said, okay, let me focus and channel all of my energy to that.
Yeah, we can only best serve people if we are firing on all cylinders. And so I think there was a term I started to use 5 years ago, like, what will it take to set you up to win? And so sometimes that seems a little selfish, but really you're thinking to yourself, what do I need in order to be fired up on all cylinders? In order for me to be moving forward passionately with certainty, with convictioncy and being consistent. And a part of that was me recognizing that I needed to drill down to the core. So starting, and this is just something extra I did with my therapist is I went through my own personal core values because everything stems from you. God made us like specifically and uniquely designed, and our purpose is attached to it. And so I started with our personal core values. What do I value? And then I started to realize that I'm a solution to a problem. And so I'm going to be offering
I just want to pause there because you talked about core values, and a lot of times we hear that as it relates to business.
Yes.
But I've never, thought about it as it relates to yourself as an individual. So that's beautiful work, but continue.
Yeah. And with your personal core values, this is how you think about how you're choosing a spouse, because that has to align. And then choosing your friendships, like who you want to nurture friendships with. A part of my core values is I highly value family and I highly value, successful marriage. That's important to me. Honesty, transparency, vulnerability. All of these things are important to me. So I started choosing, I was already married at the time. Thank God. Jesus did the work for me.
Thank God he fit the core values.
Woo, child, because that would have been a mess, all right? We're going to have to separate. But, I started to choose my friends better. Because I used to be thinking to myself, like, why am I attracting all these crazy people? Like, why am I attracting all these crazy people? Like, what is happening here? But I started to choose my friends, and now I'm like surrounded by people that I'm inspired by, people that are lovely individuals who have good marriages, successful, very, very wealthy, but it's not even like the wealth part, the service mindset. And the mindset, the way how they serve, and the way how they have a mindset for more is like, I'm surrounded by people who are smarter than me, and so, it started with my core values, developing myself from there, and then developing my artistry. What does that look like? And now that I'm at that place, I feel like the things that I'm offering is going to be all connected.
Okay.
In a deeper way.
Now you know where it's coming from.
Yes. Now I could talk with conviction, and certainty. Yeah.
That is
I've been
beautiful.
working on it.
So this entrepreneur spirit, this tenacity of like, I know, like I'm meant for something, I'm going to figure what that is. Where do you feel like that came from?
Well, my parents, my dad, he grew up in Tennessee in the Jim Crow South. Ooh. So he was there when you could not walk in the same door. So he's already wired, and he went into the military. So he was already wired with, no, you have to push forward. You have to show yourself as somebody who is worthy, right?
Yeah.
In this space. And so he left Tennessee when he was 17. Right. And he came up here. He was on Broadway. He did, he was amazing. And then he went into trade school. And then my mom, she's from Jamaica, West Indies.
Awesome.
And she came up here when she was 19 years old. And she went to Baruch College, became an accountant. And so my entire childhood was based on, they used to teach me like, hey, if you want to, and I'm talking about white people here,
okay,
but this is my background. So basically, if you want to stand out, as a Black person, right, you have to be 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times better,
right?
And that I'm not proud that our country was in that space at the time. Right. But it trained me to be ambitious. It trained me to be driven. It trained me to be articulate. It trained me to look for the details and to recognize that the details and honoring and highlighting all those details contribute to an overall experience. And so, I was trained this way, to be honest.
That is beautiful. Yeah. I love that sometimes we don't know why we're a certain way, but you're able to identify these specific things that your family like poured into you. And that goes into legacy. That's the legacy that they left you, girl.
Yes, to be the legacy partner.
You are so funny. Yeah, no, that's good because we don't realize a lot of times, what things that, children could sort of pick up when they're in the midst of things, when they're in the environment, and how important it is, how even at early ages to like let them know who they are and what they're capable of. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to?
No, I was saying, girl, yeah.
So you had all these transitions, and you recently, put out a whole new album release, right?
Yes.
But this is not your first music that you've released.
No.
So you want to talk about that journey?
Yes. So the older music that I had before 2016, I took down. Okay. So that was a part of me finding myself. The more recent music under Danielle Nicole Johnson, that more recent music was birthed out of the Worship in My City worship nights. So in 2013, as I continued to evolve in the prayer ministry and stuff like that, God gave me this idea called Worship in My City. And it's about how we take the responsibility of worship rising in our city. So everybody has the opportunity to say, I want more of the presence of God in my city, in my home, in my family. And when we take that responsibility together, that's when, the earth will be filled with God's glory. You know how the Bible talks about the earth being filled with the presence of God, but it's a collaborative effort. And so Worship in My City was designed to inspire people through these nights of freedom and worship. And I did those since 2013, but in 2018, the one I did there, as I was singing, people started to get healed.
Ooh.
I know, God started to give me different conditions, and I started to just say it, which, I was, deathly afraid.
Yeah.
Like, why? What are you telling me? Can I write it down?
La, 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 la.
But then I started to say, listen, we don't know how many people are in here that really need, a healing. And so, I started to call out condition after condition after condition. I didn't even know some of the words, embarrassing. Listen, I was like, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to spell this out. I'm going to Google this. And that chorus, miracle signs and wonders are in this room, came to me. And so these songs are really birthed out of those nights of worship where people were getting their breakthrough. They were like really, hearing from God. And so we recorded them live.
Oh, wow.
We recorded In This Room, That Name live. And then the other ones that you see are also birthed from those times of prayer and worship. So that's the new stuff.
That is so beautiful. Are you still doing worship in my city?
Yes. Now, we're in a pandemic. And so I always want to protect people. It's nothing like being in the building together.
Yeah.
But we are planning to do one in September and October, depending on where we are with the Delta variant. It'll probably be pre-recorded.
Okay.
And people can enjoy it from their homes.
Okay. That sounds good. And do you feel like that sort of worship in my city was confined to a particular type of religion, or I want to say religion because I know it's like Christ-based, but a typical or particular, that's the word I would say.
Tipular. I like that.
A particular like sort of dialect of religion. Like, we have evangelists, we have Baptists, we have, or do you feel like it's just like Bible-based spiritual?
Yeah, it's Bible-based, it's spiritual. There's no like churchanese, none of the, like if you came in, you would be able to understand what's being said. What I love about Worship in My City is that even though we're worshiping, there's like a 10-minute portion where we break down, what is worship? Why do we worship? Who is it that we worship? And how is that connected to your faith? And then we go back into worship again. So it's actually armed with, pieces of teaching. Also, we're going to be rolling out over the next year some small groups. So I love understanding. Like,
yeah, me too.
I need to understand.
So do I. Like, does it make sense to me?
Yes.
Can I connect the dots?
Exactly. So I'll be teaching those in the small groups how to cultivate an atmosphere of worship in your heart and home. So just like very simple. So by the time you come to the night, you already had the understanding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It'll
be there
so
for
beautiful.
you.
Yeah, that's powerful. So how do you connect like the business side with your faith? And I know you kind of intertwined it here, but like, what does that mean to you? Like, is it separate? Is it the same? Like, how does it go?
My personal belief and, after years and years of personal development, personal transformation work, being under amazing mentors, my personal belief is that, God sent his son so that we can infiltrate industries. I believe that, worship, when we say worship, even in the Hebrew, it's also work. And so as I'm working unto the Lord.
Okay.
So I'm not doing it for you or you, but I'm doing it unto God in service to those that he has entrusted to me. So when you start looking at your business like that, it becomes much different. You treat people with more care and more compassion, and you recognize that you've been called to steward these people in a way that brings honor to God. So to me, it's all together. As somebody, Jesus came to establish the kingdom of God. And what does that mean? Very simply, it just means that when we go into politics, when we go into governmental system, when we go into law, when we go into, charity work, when we go into the educational system, we're bringing our God with us. Not in a way that is oppressive or in a way that, we're better than, you know, and not with entitlement, but with an attitude of love, because God is love. So we're entering into those spaces with this deep love. And as we're around people, they feel that energy. And so we're able to give that love and show people what our routine is and how we invite the love of God to invade all areas of our lives so that we can be better servant leaders. So to me, it's together.
Oh, I love that.
You love
it? It's loaded because you know, a lot of times I'll speak from my perspective. I had a hard time figuring out like who I am in business and how does my faith play into that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in the beginning, or I would say like the first half of my business, I was very focused on like what I could do by myself, you know, essentially, even though like I have faith and, you know, I believe in God and all that, I was more focused on what I could do. And with that comes a lot of frustration.
Yes.
I would get annoyed when like people would like reach out to me if I was too busy and things like that. But now that I've had like this new perspective on, one, accepting my position in life, right? Accepting my position as an attorney, like this is the path that I was meant to walk to deliver whatever it is that God wants me to deliver. But now that I'm accepting that, I can see that this is also a channel. This is a way that you can get people to peace and, you know, heaven and what have you, by being who you are in the world, showing your light or letting your light shine. You know what I mean? And that's another way.
Yeah, but think about what you do. You know, according to scripture, a man who leaves something for his children and his children's children is honorable.
Absolutely.
Right? Proverbs 31, their children rise up and call them blessed because what? They're establishing legacy. So what you're doing is actually, you know, increasing honor in bloodlines. Like we have to really think about this. This is something that, you know, the enemy doesn't want. His job is to steal, kill, and destroy. And your job, according to what God has empowered you to do, is to build up and establish. So you're the direct opposite, you know, of what, you know, the enemy's assignment and design is. So you have to build yourself up so that you can build other people up. And that build up is so important to bloodlines.
Yes, it is.
You know, I was studying with my mentor that book, What Would the Rockefellers Do?
Oh, yeah.
Have you read that book?
Yes, I have read that book.
Yeah, they're taking care of their family right now, 15 generations later.
Generations, yeah.
If that's not a spiritual thing, you know, that is a spiritual thing. For you to be able to take care of your family 15 generations later takes divine strategy, divine implementation of systems, yes, information, right? And so you're offering that. And so you need to be supported with, you know, that morning routine and your time with God, because having a heavenly or a kingdom outlook for that is so important. I want my family to be taken care of, you know, the next 15 to 30 generations, and coming to you and establishing that legacy is a part of that.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. Yes. That's going to be a commercial.
Yes, God.
But you're so right. And what I love about it is like, in my practice, like different areas of law that I've practiced, it's been good, you know, it's been helpful to people. But now I know that families for generations are going to be impacted.
Oh my gosh.
It's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. And when people are like, you know, I came to understand this information or know that I needed to do something about this through, you know, whatever I put out there, it's just like, I'm like, okay, I'm in my purpose, y'all.
Yes. But think about why we were so upset about, oh my goodness, what is the black business, not Wall Street, sorry. It was a street.
Black Wall Street.
Was it Black Wall?
It's not Black Wall Street.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Tulsa.
Thank you. Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Think about why we were so upset about that. It's so upsetting because the legacy of what could have been passed down, the way that community could have been impacted by the continuation of those businesses and families was lost.
Totally lost, taken away.
Oh my gosh.
And that impacted generations, right?
Generations.
Generations.
I mean, it impacted me, and maybe I didn't do ancestry.com all the way, but I'm just saying, like, not saying that my ancestors were there, but it impacted me. So not only did it impact those direct generations, but it impacted generations of the world, because now we're looking back and saying, wow, another town lost.
Yeah. What could it have been?
What could it have been? And we don't want to walk around anymore. I don't know about anybody, but you know, the feeling of this generation, you know, the millennials, Gen Z, you know, the feeling is we're not taking that no more.
No, we're done.
Right.
So
we need you.
Yeah.
Yes, we need you. And we need you to be successful.
You.
I was watching Elena Cardone talk to Coach Stormy the other night, and she was saying, she told Grant Cardone, you need to be a billionaire. You need to be a billionaire, because you have services that people can really, really benefit from, that bloodlines, you know, can really benefit from, that passive income through real estate. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, Sabine, we need you to be a billionaire. We need you to be a billionaire.
This is my church session.
Yes.
Y'all invited to my...
Log on. Yes, we need you, because the products and the services that you offer is going to affect, you know, really greatly bloodlines. It's important.
Thank you.
You need to be protected, child.
That's absolutely right. I couldn't have said it better myself.
She didn't pay me to say this, guys.
No, we just love each other.
Yes, I love you so much.
Thank you. I love you too. So your new EP, right? That's what we call it?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the new EP is coming in about a month or two. It's called Light. And the reason why I named it Light is because there was a period of time right before the pandemic came where I was going through extreme depression. I kind of... I had so given myself over to ministry and serving others that I completely forgot about me. Completely. Yet again.
I'm glad you brought that back up, because I wanted to dig into the fact that, how you said, we can forget about ourselves, and sometimes you give too much, and you think that it's selfish not to. But tell me about what you discovered there.
You know, even when doing good, you can still do bad.
Ain't that the truth?
You know, even when doing good, you can still do bad. And so what I mean by that is I was learning my serving capacity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was learning how deep I could go. You know, I was building faith-based leaders. I was building worship, you know, my worship team, musicians, singers, over 100 people.
Wow.
And so, you know, I loved it. And so sometimes, you know, you love what you're doing.
You go in.
Exactly. So I was on Workaholic. I should be on Workaholic Anonymous, to be honest. Okay? I was doing
Let Andre tell it.
Yes. Oh, my God. Please don't invite him to the podcast. He'll be going in on me. But I was not eating right. Even though I was still waking up for 5 a.m. prayer, I was just jetting out the house. I would leave early and come home super late. And so I was eating whatever was easy. I was in meetings and I wasn't eating. So I would be at the meeting, and I wasn't doing anything. It would be 7 o'clock and I said, oh my gosh. No downtime. Oh my God, I didn't eat. It's 7 o'clock and I still have another rehearsal. And so I would eat 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. And then what I started to do was say to myself, I can't see a way out of what I'm doing currently. And what I mean by that is I don't know how to create balance here. I can't see a way because
to make this all work.
Exactly. I'm so dedicated to what I'm doing, and people's lives are changing and things are happening, and I'm getting like amazing results. I mean, that black girl magic results where, you know, you're taking things that, you know, you have limited resources and you make it look like it's a Broadway play. Okay. You are taking things to the max. And so I could not figure out how to achieve balance. So I gave up on me. Yes.
Like, I don't have time for me.
I just gave up. I gave up. I said, since I don't know what to do, I'm not going to do anything at all. And so I started to develop something called seborrheic dermatitis in my scalp. That was the first thing that happened, where my body said, sis, if you don't sit down, we coming for you.
We're going to have to quit something.
You're going to scratch your head. It's going to be like an avalanche. And you're going to be like, what is... listen, okay, that dermatitis is something serious. And so that was my first wake up call.
Okay.
Then after
is that caused by stress?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's caused by stress. They said it's something happening at the root of the hair, but child, there's no cure for it, and there's no real root cause.
Okay.
It's one of those like autoimmune. Yes. Like, so I got into therapy. I started therapy. And I started to work through what those disconnects were. Why did I think it was more noble for me to do good for everyone else but me?
Right.
And so I had to figure out why that was, what I was looking for. And I recognized once again, yes, I did my personal core value work, but there was a belief system that was at work that said, hey, I'm going to do so much good for others that no one will really look at me because I'm not worthy.
Oh,
yes,
so
I'm not good enough. And I started to uncover these belief systems on the inside of me that needed to be rooted out. Belief systems where I was rejecting myself. I would be doing so many things and I'll be receiving opportunities, but I'm sabotaging those opportunities.
Girl, speak on it. Speak on it.
Okay. I was sabotaging opportunities. God was talking to me and I'm acting like I don't hear him, And so the reason why I was sabotaging those opportunities because I was operating in a belief system of rejection.
Wow.
And what that was I recognized, in therapy, you have to go back to the first time you experienced a thing.
Okay.
Am I talking too much, child?
No, girl.
Okay.
You're doing a great job.
All right. So the first time I experienced rejection, I was 7 years old. I was at my babysitter's house and her granddaughter molested me.
Oh,
she
wow.
asked to do like doctor or whatever. And child, I don't know, so she was doing whatever. And I remember the first time I rejected my experience, I was like, I was in the ceiling looking down at what was happening in the bathroom.
Okay.
So I separated myself from what I was feeling.
Like that wasn't really me.
Exactly. So now I'm in the fantasy world. And so that pattern of rejection continued on so much so that, when I'm shutting down, I'm in the fantasy world. I'm rejecting my feelings. It's not even registering to me. It got to a point, guys, that I didn't even know how to articulate the feelings that I felt. I had to literally read emotion.
Any feeling.
Any feeling.
Wow.
Emotional Intelligence 2.0 was a book I read.
And I'm going to pick that one up.
Yeah, pick it up. They have a range of emotions. I used to keep that sheet on my phone so that if I'm communicating with my husband, I could say, I'm feeling blah. Yes. And so I started to recognize, okay, I shut myself down so much that I didn't even know how to articulate what I was feeling. At a certain point, I would separate from my current experience. And so that was a trend of rejection to the point that I would receive opportunities and I would reject myself before anyone would reject me.
Wow.
So I wouldn't even mount into those opportunities and give 150% because at the end I was fearing being rejected. So I just removed myself from the beginning.
Wow. And that's powerful because a lot of people who listen, they're either business minded or interested in some level of that. But, as you're building either a brand or a business, or you're just, wanting to build wealth or be generally successful, once you're in that flow, things will start to come to you.
Yep.
But if you don't have the right mindset and your spirit is not together, you will just close every door that opens. Like, no, I'm not worthy. So I love that you shared that. Thank you.
Self-sabotage.
Yeah. So then how did you, what was the work like coming out of that?
Well, therapy was my first. Well, first it was like Alcoholics Anonymous. I had to say, I am an alcoholic.
Okay.
Right. I had to say, I need help. Something is wrong here. And I started therapy, but then I read this other book called The 4 Agreements.
Oh, I love The 4 Agreements.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I cried every page.
Oh, wow.
Because I underlined everything because I recognized that I've made agreements with things that was bringing me pain.
Yes.
I was making agreements with things saying I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, people won't like it, it's not gonna happen. If this person doesn't do it for me, then it's a wrap. You know how we look at people sometimes who are further along than us in a particular industry and we're expecting them to open a door for us.
Yes.
And they may even have the opportunity to do so, but they choose not to.
Right.
And so that bitterness, that resentment starts building up.
And you feel like, at the same time, we also have to take certain levels of responsibility.
Exactly.
And it's easy for us to be like, it's them, it's everybody
Yes.
else, you
Yes.
know?
And so I had to recognize that I was powerless, right? I had no power. And so how can I become powerful, Full again? And I had to take back my power from those agreements. I had to break those agreements and say, listen, God elevates me. I'm doing the work. The how is not my responsibility.
Yes.
Listen, it's going to happen the way that God has designed it to happen. You know, I'm in agreement with God. You know, I'm in alignment here. And so the 4 agreements really helped me. And then the third thing was the people I was directly serving, they were hungry to grow. And I knew that in order for me to serve them better, I had to grow. So that would push me to read more books, you know, listening to the John Maxwell Leadership Podcast, the Craig Rochelle Leadership Podcast. I would just like, you know, immerse myself in how to become a better person. And then I recognized that the power in humility and transparent leadership. And so, you know, those 4 things really helped me to come out of what I was in. And then obviously, of course, I would say prayer. But I don't want to over spiritualize something that was a very physical process, mental and emotional process. Like I literally had to break those things. Also, I paid thousands of dollars for mentorship.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna tell you everything. I paid thousands of dollars for mentorship. I'm subscribed to several, you know, coaching sites. Like, you know, I paid thousands of dollars for coaching, thousands of dollars for mentorship. You know, I never negotiated anybody down. If I knew they had what I needed, I'm paying the price.
Yeah.
You know,
that's good because like, you know, as business owners, you have to like invest in yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Or just people. Like individuals don't necessarily think that they need to invest in themselves, like if they don't have like a business, but even business owners everyone doesn't think you need to invest in. But you do if people have what you need. And granted, we know there's tons of courses out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if someone actually has a solution for what you need and they're giving you a level of expertise, then yeah, it's worth it. Like you wouldn't take nothing back that that helped you to grow as a person.
No,
you know?
Even those courses that I was like, oh my gosh, that was a waste of time. But it's still the action of wanting to do better. I started to build confidence in myself and in being proud of myself and saying, I like that you took the action to do that. And then I started to recognize, as I started to grow, I started to whittle down who the people are that I was going to look to for mentorship. So now I have 3. Yeah, I had 2 mentors and a coach. And so now with their, you know, material, I really have, like, between January and now, I've spent thousands of dollars again, but the growth was faster. Because now I'm in a place.
That's a good point too. You can get there much faster.
Yeah, before I didn't know, all I knew is I needed to change. Then all I knew was, okay, I need to change mentally, emotionally. And then, you know, I was thinking financial too. And now I'm like, okay, I know what specific areas I need to help in. And so for me, the words for this year was certainty, conviction, and consistency. Those 3 things were what I was looking to build this year. You know, just understanding how to ask in faith, you know, what that looks like, because faith is the persuasion that God can and God will. I never felt like I asked in faith, you know, and so
really with all that prayer
all of that,
and all that leadership.
With all of that. I'm going to be, you know, this is the Sabine Transparency Podcast.
Receive it.
Yes. I mean, we got to be honest with each other, because I feel like, you know, Instagram could sometimes be a highlight reel, but we don't really talk about like what we're going through personally. And with all of, you know, my parents are pastors, you know, I function as a pastor, you know, I've been in very, you know, ministry opportunities, but I still lack the faith. But
and I could relate to that. I could relate when I thought that I had a lot of faith. I realized that I didn't. That I wasn't really believing that, you know, through faith, that I would receive whatever I wanted, or that I was actually asking it through that channel, what you're talking about.
Exactly. Think about the people that you know my mentor said the other day that belief doesn't possess you, you possess belief. And the people who possess belief are the ones that will almost make you feel like, okay, well, I need to be a part of whatever you're doing, because the way how you're speaking to me is so passionate. It's like, oh, it's passion, having that passion. And I had to figure out, why are you not passionate about what you're offering?
Yeah.
You understand? Like, think about all you guys that might be coaches and stuff like that, or teachers and stuff. And you guys got services and nobody knows about them.
Right.
Why?
Why are you afraid to like really step into it?
There's an underlying belief disconnect that's happening there, where you're not recognizing that what you have to offer is really going to empower people to the point that you believe that if they take, if they pay for your services, their life is going to transform. Right. And so that was my problem. I didn't believe that if people listen to my music or, engage with my offerings or engage with me, that their life would change. I now believe that because I carry that God energy, that divine understanding that the God is on the inside of me. And then, and as you interact with me, you're going to feel God.
Right.
I didn't have that before.
Wow.
So that this year was about certainty. I know. Conviction. I know. Consistency. As I'm doing these actions, it's building the I know.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Danielle, I could speak to you for like a whole nother hour. This is so good. This is so good. Thank you for pouring out to us here.
Absolutely.
So where can people find you? Like, where is all of your wonderful offerings?
Oh my gosh. Guys, I put it all in one place.
Good.
So you can go right to Instagram. It's Danielle Nicole Johnson _.
Okay.
And in the bio, you'll see a link, and I put everything that I've done is in that link.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Easy enough.
Easy peasy.
So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Definitely love you. I like to do a lightning round called Right Quick.
Okay, right quick.
But we don't have a lot of time. But anyways, we're going to do what we can.
Go. Okay.
All right. So the first one is play.
Oh, like my favorite?
No, anything. So I'm going to say the word and you just say what comes to mind. So play as in fun.
Okay. The first thing I thought was plaything.
Okay.
So
that?
Child, that's when you're getting a little sexy with your man.
Oh, okay.
You know, a little plaything.
All right, we know where your mind's going.
See you, Dre.
Okay. So the next one's going to be work.
Play.
Okay.
I love work.
You love work?
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
So that's fun.
Yeah, it's fun for me.
That's good because they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
It's fun for me.
That's awesome. All right. Would you stop? You're making me nervous. All right. So the last one is don't mess with
my man.
Okay.
My money and my time.
All three. You've been served. Thank you so much, Danielle.